Hi everybody, thanks for being here. It is an honor to have an opportunity for sharing my last work, documenting for chaos engineering. I have given this title to my talk, Why Chaos Engineering Documents Matter. Nice to meet you. I am Yury Nino. I am Colombian. This is the flag of my country. I work as cloud infrastructure engineer at Google Cloud. Also, I am chaos engineering and site reliability engineering advocate. You can find me in LinkedIn, Twitter, and Medium as Yury Nino. As it is mentioned in the poster of my talk, everybody here knows that the software documentation is a key to communicate the decisions of the project. But something that we have missed is that it includes chaos engineering exercise. So we should have frameworks for that. However, chaos engineering is still a new discipline. There is no framework that defines how to document the experiments. In this talk, I am going to present one. But before that, I would like to share a chaos story that puts in evidence the importance of having documentation for chaos engineering. Having said that, I am going to share the benefits of documenting each software development lifecycle stage. It's important to mention that I am not talking about documents for building and operating systems. I am talking about the documents for the chaos. At this point, I will present a framework composed by a set of documents that should be kept in each stage of the chaos. I am going to talk about the general documents for the team, for example, the team charters, and I will try to explore another documents for preparing, running, and finishing the chaos. So let me start with the story. Not judge my skills for writing stories. I am really bad on that. That is the reason for giving this simple title to the story. A chaos story in the middle of chaos. This story began a Friday and 50 time, 10 minutes before the control chaos. I am going to use my name for the main actress. Yury is a site reliability engineer, and she's participating of a chaos engineering exercise for a first time. She watched an experimented co-host announce the routine for chaos in the chaos engineering Slack channel. It is a classical experiment in which the engineering team unplugs some network cables in production. At 14 times, it is the moment of truth. One of the co-hosts runs the prepare command to insert the failure. A Yury's colleague and note taker records the time. At 50, after 14 is the time for all participants, except the note taker, to spring into action. It is the moment for collecting the evidence of the failure, the recovery, and the impact on the systems. Confirm all the details of your hypothesis and make note of the remediations. At 14:30 is the moment to restore the service. It is the real moment of the truth. All the preparation and the exercise in the development environment have led you to this moment. You notice that the production environment doesn't return to the steady state. Since something is wrong, the chaos lead decides to stop here, but it is so late because the automated recovery procedure has put online the isolated region for the chaos engineering exercise. The failure is now noticeable for the customers. This feels truly terrifying. For a moment, Yury has no idea what to do. Fortunately, she's not alone. Yury proposed to extrapolate the situation to the development team. The team thinks it is a good idea. Yury pages the document team. Unfortunately, she get no response. The chaos team searched on the intranet to find some document that could help. After precious minutes go by, Yury finds a document referring a wait script that can apparently fix the problem, but this is the first time that the team had heard of it. Since that it is the only option, they run the script and cross fingers. Fortunately, it works. Luckily, all the characters and episodes in this story are fictional. Let me analyze some thoughts about the story. A perfect recipe for the chaos in the middle of the control chaos. It is the post-mortem of our story, starting the things went well. Let me mention that the teamwork, used the communication channels, and chaos engineering isolation were things that the team run well. The things that they didn't go well, lack of knowledge about the automation recovery script. If you remember that the development team was unavailable, and of course, the lack of documentation. And finally, let me close with the next actions. plan a meeting between the development and SRE team, and no less important, documentation, the new service, the main topic of this talk. The moral of the story, the documentation is very, very important. Let me explain you why. It is common that the organizations depend on the performance of highly skilled individuals of the team, and the teams used to preserve the important operational concepts and principles as nuggets of tribal knowledge are passed on verbally to new team members. And it is a fact that if these concepts and principles are not codified or documented, they will often need to be relearned painfully through trial and error. As I have mentioned here, documentation helps developers communicate with others, and documents help future developers understand and maintain the code. For example, it is important these documents are important on the onboarding processes. For example, good documentation helps you learn from your mistakes. I would like to share this fragment of an excellent article related to SRE documents. SRE teams can prevent this process decay by creating high-quality documentation that lays the foundation for teams to scale up and take a principled approach for managing new and unfamiliar services. It is the most expected moment to present the documentation framework. Here, the framework, I have classified the documents according to the stages that are part of a classical chaos engineering exercise. In the category of general, I have included team charters, production readiness, and technical designs. Before the chaos, it is important to consider that the chaos policies, service agreements, and on-call policies. I am proposing to use chaos designs, playbooks, and incident management documents during the exercise. And finally, after the chaos, our mission will document postmortems and reliability reports. Let me go in detail on the general documents. I am going to start with one of my favorite assets. I am talking about the team charters. A charter generally includes the following elements: a vision statement. It should be an aspirational description of what the team would like to achieve the long term. A short and high-level explanation of the space in which your team operates. This includes the types of services the team engage with, related systems, and examples. Also, a short description of the top 2 or 3 services managed by the team. This section also highlights key technologies used and challenges for running them, benefits of chaos engineering engage, and what chaos engineering does. Finally, key principles and valuables for the team and links to relevant documents. The Production Readiness Review, or PRR, as it is known, it is a document with the criteria considered to make sure that a service meets the accepted standards of operational readiness and that service owners have the guidance they need as service go through this review process prior before the launch to production. Important to mention that during this stage, the service has not SRE support. So the product development team supports the service. Some common sections includes architecture and dependencies. What is your request flow from user to front end to back end? The capacity planning, very important. A key question here is, have you obtained all the compute resource needed to support your traffic? Failures mode, for example, do you have any single points of failure in your design? On how do you mitigate unavailability of your dependencies? Processes and automation, very important also. And finally, the external dependencies, critical to know to do any partners depend on your services. Technical design documents, also known as TDDs, are similar to proposals, but they describe in detail how a specific solution will work. Design documents are often written when the implementation a solution is not trivial or not well understood. The author will usually have to design decided, but he's looking for an approval from reviewers. Since a design document should describe the steady state of a system, it is really valuable asset for chaos engineers. Some common sections include an overview of the system architecture, infrastructure services, and documentation standards, which include naming convention, for example. Another sections for a TDD includes programming standards, development tools, requirement traceability matrix, document controls, document syncoms, and document change reports. Now I will move to the documents that should review before the chaos experiments. A policy is a guide to make decisions for achieving excellent outcomes. Policies are generally adopted by governance body within an organization. So my first recommendation is to include an asset that documents the chaos policies. Here are the sections. An overview, the policy goals, a description of the meaning of the steady state in your services, the specification of your SLOs and SLAs, the description of the key policies includes outage policies, escalation policies, and related documentation. These are the classical service level agreements, famous in SRE. They used to include what is the target for measuring the user experience, what process will indicate success or failure by average user, what systems and pieces of the infrastructure are used to conduct that process and meet the target. For each target or metric, you should identify the source, the measurable aggregation duration, the threshold by which we can determine success, and any explanation behind the target service, the selection. Finally, to this stage, the on-call policies, very important also, which include an overview and readiness, the training and scheduling, the shift details, the pager load, compensations, tools and processes, and communication standards. There is a real moment of truth in the following the documents that could be useful during the chaos experiments. I think it is one of the most important assets in the frameworks. I know I have said that all documents are very important, but I think there is one most important asset in the framework because it describes the experiment. Here is registered what happened, the hypothesis, very, very important, that you will verify or refute, the environment in which the application is running, the duration and load applied in the experiment, the result, it is like an airplane black box, your observability strategy, and the actions that you will take from the results. The playbooks, also called runbooks, with them, the on-call engineers respond to the alerts generated by service monitoring. In the story, if Yury had a playbook to tell her to do in case of failure, the incident could have been resolved in a matter of minutes. Playbooks reduce the time to mitigate an incident, and they provide useful links to consoles and procedures. Playbooks contain instructions for verification, troubleshooting, and escalation for each alert generated from network monitoring processes. They contain commands and steps to review for accuracy. And incident management documents, sometimes called an incident response plans or emergency management plans. They are documents that help an organization return to normal as quickly as possible following an unplanned event. The sections here, overview and readiness, chief hands-off, escalation, incident responsibilities, very, very important. If you remember, for example, Yury is the site reliability engineer in the exercise, but she is not the lead of the team. Prioritization, key tools, dashboards, and monitoring, and finally, the useful links. Finally, the documents for after the chaos. It's a classic, as you know. I couldn't allow me to miss the postmortems. Remember, a software postmortem is analysis conducted after a system failure. The goal is to understand why an incident or error happened and to learn from the experience. The mission with this asset is that the future software becomes more robust. Remember that problems happen, by conducting a postmortem analysis, you can ensure that they don't happen again. The reliability reports are common assets to communicate the results of KPIs to the management. Remember that the software reliability is the probability of failure-free software operation for a period of time in an environment. Some sections that I think you can include are indicator name, collection method, assessment, formula, scale criteria, target and performance threshold, source of data, data frequency, data entries, and finally expiration or revision date. And that is all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, you can find me in LinkedIn, Twitter, and Medium as Yury Nino, and that is my personal webpage, Yury Nino @Dev.